My mom surprised me with a birthday dinner, but the cake was only half there, and my name is Hannah, I'm 27, and on my birthday, my mom gave me a cake that was already half eaten. Everyone around the table was laughing, phones out. Taking videos like this was the funniest thing in the world. My mom smiled big and said she had pulled the cake out of the trash behind the store as a joke about how clever and thrifty she was. I stared at the smeared chocolate frosting and the big empty space where other people's slices had been. For a moment, I felt like that missing half was me. That was the moment I stopped pretending my family was normal. I had driven all the way to a nice burger place in the next town, hoping like an idiot that maybe this year would be different, that maybe my parents would finally see me as more than the broke freelance daughter who never quite measures up. Instead, I got a garbage cake, a table full of people laughing at me, and one perfect chance. I didn't flip the table. I didn't scream or cry. I leaned down to my uncle's ear, kept my voice steady, and said 7 quiet words that made his smile disappear. I told him I knew about the insurance. 2 weeks later, the same people who laughed at my trash cake were calling me over and over, more afraid than I'd ever seen them, in a way they never were when I was the one in pain. If your own mom turned your birthday into a joke, and you were holding a secret that could blow everything up, would you keep quiet to keep the peace, or would you do what I did and finally light the match? The crazy thing is, while none of this really began with the cake, it started a few days earlier when my cousin texted me. "Hey, your mom is planning something for your birthday. Don't freak out. Just come, okay?" Megan is usually the only one in my family who talks to me like I'm a real person, not some mistake with Wi-Fi. So I believed her when she said it might actually be nice. I had just finished another 12-hour day of freelance graphic design work that barely paid my rent and food. The last thing I wanted was to sit at a table while everyone compared my life to my older sister's. But Megan said the restaurant was cute, a burger place with good milkshakes, and that my mom seemed really excited. So I did what I always do. I pushed the bad feeling down, put on some makeup, and told myself maybe this time they wouldn't make me feel like trash. I drove out from my tiny basement apartment past streets full of tidy houses with clean lawns and pulled into the parking lot of the trendy burger place. It had those old-style hanging lights, wooden tables, and a big flag on the wall. It smelled like grilled meat and fancy fries. When I walked in, my mom was already at the table, sitting at the head like a queen. My sister Chloe was next to her, scrolling through Instagram, nails bright and perfect. My dad sat across from them, shoulders a little hunched, quiet and faded into the background like he always was. My Uncle Jack, my mom's brother, was in the middle of a loud story about a worker at his job who couldn't handle pressure and got fired. "Hey, birthday girl," my mom called, standing up just enough to kiss the air near my cheek. "You look nice. Finally wearing something more feminine, huh?" I glanced down at my plain black dress and ankle boots. It wasn't anything special, but the way she said it made it feel like an insult hidden in a compliment. "Hi," I said, sliding into the chair next to Megan. She squeezed my hand under the table for a second. Her eyes said what she couldn't say out loud. "I see you. You're not alone." Chloe hardly looked up. "Oh my God, look at this reel," she laughed, turning her phone toward my mom. It was some influencer showing off a new designer purse. "We should totally go to the mall this weekend. There's a Tesla store and everything." "Maybe for your promotion celebration," my mom said proudly. "Can you believe it? She's only 24 and already moving up. Such a hard worker." My dad mumbled, "Yeah, proud of you." "Kiddo," without lifting his eyes from his drink. "So?" My Uncle Jack leaned back, looking me up and down. "Still doing that art thing?" "Graphic design," I said, because after 3 years he still acted like he forgot. "Yeah, I'm freelancing right now." "Freelancing," he repeated with a smirk, like the word itself was a joke. "Must be nice. Working when you feel like it. When I was your age, I was doing overtime every week. No excuses." "It's not really like that," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "If I don't work, I don't get paid." "Well," my mom cut in, "maybe if you'd stop chasing these creative dreams and just get a normal office job, you wouldn't be so stressed about money. Stability isn't a bad word, you know." Megan shifted beside me. She's doing good, Aunt Linda, she said quietly. She showed me her designs. They're really cool. That's nice, honey, my mom said, still not looking at her. But likes and little passion projects don't pay for retirement. Chloe laughed under her breath. At least she doesn't have to deal with office gossip, she said. Corporate is brutal. Corporate is adulthood, my mom replied. Right, Jack? Exactly, he said, taking a drink. People today are soft. They want flexible hours and remote work and mental health days. He made air quotes like those words were dirty. In my day, you got hurt, you took your pills, and you came back to work. My jaw tightened when he said that, for reasons no one else at that table knew yet. My dad finally spoke again. Let's just have a nice dinner, okay? He said. But he said it like a person tossing a blanket over a fire without checking if there's gasoline under it. The waitress came by, smiling and friendly. My mom ordered another round of drinks and made a show of saying, "It's her birthday? Put it on my card," loud enough so nearby tables would hear what a generous mom she was. I listened to them talk about promotions and bonuses and trips they were planning, all the ways their lives were moving forward. And mine? Mine was treated like a bad example they had to put up with. Have you ever sat in a room full of people who are supposed to love you and felt like the only way you fit is as the joke? I told myself I could live through one dinner, smile, nod, go home and cry later. I had no idea the worst part was still hiding in the kitchen under cheap frosting and a bent candle. When the food finally came, there was a short, fake piece. Burgers, fries, onion rings, my grilled chicken salad that I ordered more from guilt than from hunger. My mom raised her glass. To Hannah, she said, may this be the year she finally finds some stability. Everyone laughed like that was a sweet, loving joke. I smiled because I didn't know what else to do, but I felt my throat squeeze. In my head, I started a little countdown. Just eat, make small talk, go home, survive. I was halfway through moving food around my plate when the restaurant lights dimmed a little. A few servers started walking toward our table. One of them carried a plate with sparklers stuck in it. For a second, my heart lifted. Maybe they'd actually bought a real cake. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they were trying. Then I saw it. A chocolate cake on a white plate, but only half of it was there. The other half was just gone. The cut side was rough and messy, frosting smashed and crumbs stuck to the empty part of the plate like someone had hurriedly hacked off pieces. One crooked candle leaned over in the remaining half. The table burst out laughing even before the staff finished their off-key, "Happy birthday." "Oh my God, Mom!" Chloe gasped, already unlocking her phone camera. "What even is this?" My mom put her hand over her chest, acting shocked and proud at the same time. "Isn't it hilarious?" she said. "I found it in the trash behind the bakery. Can you believe people throw away good cake?" The servers looked confused, but tried to smile. I stared at the half-eaten cake, my brain trying to catch up. "You found my birthday cake in the trash?" I asked slowly. "Relax," she laughed, waving her hand. "I'm joking. Mostly? It was in the clearance section. Someone returned it or something. It's fine. We're not picky, right?" Uncle Jack slapped the table, laughing so hard his face turned pink. "Now that is saving money," he shouted. "A trash cake. Best story of the year." Chloe was already filming. She pointed her phone at my face. "Guys, look," she said into the camera. "Mom literally grabbed Hannah's birthday cake out of the trash. Say hi, Han." She zoomed in like I was starring in some prank video. My cheeks burned. Maybe no one else in the restaurant was watching, but it felt like they were. From another table, I heard a kid yell, "Trash cake!" His parents hushed him, but his words stuck like glue. Beside me, Megan shifted. "That's not funny," she whispered so only I could hear. "It's just a joke," my mom said louder. "You know we love you. Come on, blow out your candle, make a wish, maybe wish for a real job." The table howled with laughter again. I looked at the candle, at the half cake, at the dirty smear where other people's fingers had probably been. I thought about the months of chasing invoices, of staring at my bank account, of choosing between new shoes and fixing my laptop. I thought about every time my mom said, "If you had just chosen a normal career." I thought of Jack's speech about real injuries and going back to work. Something inside me finally broke. but instead of exploding, it went quiet. I leaned forward and blew out the candle in one breath. Happy? Chloe said, still recording. Shh, aren't you going to eat some? I'm fine, I said. My voice sounded calm, flat, like it belonged to someone older and done with this show. I pushed my chair back. The legs scraped the floor. Whoa, where are you going? My mom said, her laughter fading. We're just getting started. I've had enough, I said, picking up my bag. I turned to Uncle Jack. He was still half grinning, but there was a tiny flicker of fear in his eyes, like he suddenly remembered saying something he shouldn't have near me months ago. I leaned down so my mouth was close to his ear. The table went a little quieter. I could hear the fryers hissing in the kitchen and some country song playing softly from the speakers. I know about the insurance, I whispered. 7 words, that was all. His body went stiff. The smile disappeared like someone had erased it. His hand tightened so hard on his beer bottle that his knuckles went white. What? He breathed. I straightened up, met his eyes, and gave him the smallest, fakest smile I have ever given anyone. Enjoy the cake, I said. Then I turned and walked away. I could hear my mom calling my name, Chloe asking if she got that on video, a few confused voices, but none of it stopped me. I pushed open the restaurant door and stepped into the cool night air. My heart was beating fast, but my head felt strangely clear. 2 weeks later, that same uncle who laughed the loudest at my trash cake would be calling my phone again and again, his voice shaking, acting like I was the one holding a bomb. And maybe I was. And because if you're wondering what insurance I was talking about and why it scared him more than any yelling ever could, we have to go back 4 months. Back to the day I was just trying to help my mom clean her old laptop. 4 months before that dinner, I sat at my mom's kitchen table looking at a pile of old electronics she had dumped there from the hall closet. There were dusty cables, an old printer, and the slow, noisy laptop she'd been complaining about. It's too slow, she said, setting it in front of me. And it sounds like it's going to take off. Can you wipe it so I can donate it? You're good with computers. I'm not a tech expert, but compared to her, I might as well be. I opened the laptop. The fan roared, the screen flickered. Finally, her messy desktop appeared. Random folders, screenshots, icons everywhere. Just don't delete my medical stuff, she said, stirring her coffee. All my insurance papers are on there somewhere. I nodded. This was the kind of job she always trusted me with. The background work that made her life easier, but never counted as real work when she talked about me. I started sorting files, moving family photos and recipes to a USB stick. Then I opened her email to see if there was anything important to keep before I wiped everything. That's when I saw the folder. Medical claims, with a little star on it. It had way more unread messages than anything else. I clicked on it, thinking I'd just save the latest items. The subject lines all looked similar, claim numbers, updates, reminders. Then one line caught my eye. Accident documentation. Urgent. It was from about a year earlier. I remembered Uncle Jack talking about some car accident, how he hurt his back and had to skip work, how my mom had been so stressed, helping him with the forms. I clicked. The first message was from my mom to Jack. It had a hospital bill attached. Underneath, she wrote, I changed the amounts like we talked about. This should push it past the limit. My stomach clenched. I scrolled. There were PDF bills with numbers circled, other numbers typed over them. Some lines clearly edited. Another email from Jack said, You're the best. Once this goes through, we're set. No one needs to know. My mom replied, That's what family's for. Just remember to act like you're still in pain if they call. I stared at the screen. More messages. Emails to the insurance company with careful explanations. Photos of Jack's car with the same dent shown from several angles. Then one message from the insurance rep. They had approved a payment, around $120,000. I leaned back. $120,000 for an accident that was, at the very least, partly fake. Further down, I saw a message from my mom to my Aunt Ruth, her sister. Mom had written, The family pool is tight this year. We'll have to put off some of your requests until things calm down. I remembered Ruth at a barbecue, complaining quietly that insurance hadn't covered what she expected. My mom telling her, Sorry, policies change. Nothing we can do. Money's tight. But now I was looking at proof that a huge amount of money had gone straight to Jack. A few weeks later, in that same email chain, there were pictures. Jack standing in front of a brand new camper van, holding a beer, grinning. Yet another photo of him and his wife on a road somewhere, captioned, "Finally enjoying life a bit?" My mom had replied to those with emojis. "So happy for you. You deserve it after everything." I felt sick. I'm not a lawyer, but I knew this was beyond bending the rules. This was lying. This was stealing. Not just from some big company, but from a system that our own family depended on. People like Aunt Ruth, who had been told there wasn't enough for her. I scrolled back to the top, reread the line where my mom had written, "No one needs to know the difference." Apparently, I was supposed to be part of no one. I sat there for a long time, the kitchen clock ticking loudly. Part of me wanted to walk into the living room and hold the screen up to her face. Ask her how she could call me irresponsible for my choices while she did this. Ask her if she knew what it felt like to watch them tell a kind, quiet woman like Ruth, "Sorry, there's nothing left." But I also knew how that talk would go. She would say, "You don't understand. Everyone does this. The system is unfair. You're overreacting. You love drama. You're trying to cause trouble." She would twist it until I was the one saying, "Sorry." So instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I took screenshots. Every email, every bill, every confirmation, I saved them in a hidden folder. Then I uploaded copies to my own cloud storage where only I could see them. After that, I closed everything, tidied her files, saved the documents she really needed, and finally wiped the laptop like she asked. When she came back, and I handed it to her. "All set," I said. She kissed my cheek. "What would I do without you?" she said. I remember thinking, maybe not commit fraud quite so badly. But I stayed quiet. For months, I carried that secret around like a heavy rock in my chest. I told myself it wasn't my business, that saying something would only blow up the family and change nothing. I told myself if I ever spoke up, everyone would blame me, not the people who lied. And then, on my birthday, my mom put a half-eaten cake in front of me and turned my life into a short joke for social media. That was when something changed. I realized my silence wasn't protecting my family, it was protecting the people hurting us. So when I whispered, "I know about the insurance," in Jack's ear, I wasn't just being mean. Well, I was telling him the stone I'd carried was not going to stay hidden forever. 2 weeks after that dinner, when my phone lit up with calls from him and my mom, their voices shaking, afraid of consequences from their own choices, I knew the secret didn't belong only to me anymore, and that's when the real fallout began. For almost 2 weeks after the dinner, I ignored every call from my mom and every text that started with, "We need to talk." At first, it was easy. I put my phone in a drawer, dug into my projects, took long walks with loud music in my ears. I told myself I was finally taking a break. But silence always shifts. Soon, her messages changed from annoyed to worried. The first time I picked up, it was my mom. "Hannah," she said before I could say hello, her voice forced bright. "What did you say to your uncle at the restaurant?" "No. How are you?" "No. Sorry about the cake?" "Just straight to the problem." "You mean when I told him I knew about the insurance?" I asked. There was a sharp breath on the other end. "You shouldn't joke about things like that," she said quickly, then tried to sound calm. "You've really upset him. You scared him." "I scared him," I repeated. "That's interesting." "You don't understand how these things work," she said. "It was complicated. We just helped him through a hard time. It's not what you think." That line again. "It's not what you think." "So you didn't change numbers on the medical bills to get a big payout," I said. "And then tell Aunt Ruth there wasn't enough coverage for her." Silence. "You're being dramatic," she said finally, slipping into that slow, more teacher voice she used when she wanted me to feel childish. "Insurance companies cheat people all the time. Your uncle was in real pain. There were gray areas with the papers, that's all. We could have lost everything. I did what I had to do to protect this family." "You did what you had to do to help Jack buy a holiday van," I said. "And you lied to your own sister about it. But sure, I'm the dramatic one." "Do you have any idea what you're risking by throwing around words like fraud?" she hissed. "If this gets to the wrong people, they might investigate. It could destroy us. Funny, I said. You weren't worried about destroying anything when you told Aunt Ruth there wasn't enough in the family pot for her. She said my name like a warning. Hannah. I hung up. My hands shook, not because I'd shouted, but because I'd finally stopped folding. Later, Chloe called. What are you doing? She demanded the second I picked up. Mom is a mess. Uncle Jack is a mess. Aunt Ruth is asking questions. Why would you say something like that? Because it's true, I said. And I'm tired of acting like it didn't happen. You're going to blow up this whole family over something that's already done, she said. Do you want Mom to end up in court? Do you want Uncle Jack in prison? Is that your goal? It amazed me how quickly they ran from this is nothing to you're going to send him to prison, all in one breath. I didn't fake an accident, I said. If they're scared, maybe that tells you something. You've always been like this, she snapped. You can't just let things go. You make everything a huge moral thing. This is real life. People cut corners. That's how it works. People cut corners, I repeated. Guess I'll remember that next time Mom calls me a failure for not having savings yet. Maybe I should fake a fall down some stairs. You're not funny, she said. You're ruining everything. Maybe everything was cracked already, I said. I just took the tape off. That night, Megan sent me a TikTok link. It was Uncle Jack standing in his kitchen, leaning on the counter like some cheap life coach. The caption said, "Real talk about jealous relatives, #blessed, #family drama." In the video, he talked about younger family members who hate seeing other people succeed and people who would rather pull you down than stand on their own 2 feet. The comments were half, "Okay, boomer," and half, "Amen, brother." I watched it 3 times. Then Megan texted, He posted this after your mom told him. He thinks you're too scared to really do anything." A minute later, she sent, "If Aunt Ruth calls you, tell her the truth. She earned that much." The next day, Aunt Ruth did call. Her voice was steady but tight. "Hannah," she said, "Megan mentioned there might have been problems with how your mom and Jack handled the insurance last year. I don't want drama. I just want the facts. What did your mom tell you when you asked?" "What did she tell you?" I asked. "That the policy changed," Ruth said, "that there wasn't enough left, that the family fund had been used on Jack's accident, that her hands were tied." I opened the folder on my laptop, the email where my mom had written, "That's what family is for, and no one needs to know the difference." "She didn't tell you about the extra payout," I said, "or the camper van." Long silence. "Hannah," Ruth said quietly, "do you have proof?" I stared at the list of files. "Yes," I said, "I do." "Will you send it to me?" she asked. "I'm not asking you to lie for me. I'm asking you not to lie for them." That sentence hit me like a wave. She wasn't trying to guilt me. She wasn't playing the think of your mother card. She just wanted the truth. "I'll send everything," I said, and I did. People think the hardest part of telling the truth is the moment you say the words. Sometimes the harder part is what comes after. Waiting to see who believes you. Waiting to see who blames you. Waiting to see whose side people pick. Over the next few days, my mom's messages turned into long paragraphs about betrayal and airing private business. Uncle Jack didn't call, but he did change his TikTok bio to some quote about "watch out for snakes hiding in your own grass." It would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Megan and Ruth kept checking in. "We're with you," Megan wrote, "no matter how loud they get." Every time I received another angry text from some cousin or a weird Facebook post about loyalty, I reminded myself of one thing. I hadn't ruined some wonderful family. I had just stopped letting a broken one hide behind a nice word. When Ruth said she was going to talk to a lawyer and report everything to the insurance company, I don't think any of us knew what shape that would take. At first, it looked like nothing. No more calls, no more group chats. Chloe posted old family photos with captions like, "Family is everything," which felt like digs aimed at me, but mostly it was quiet. Then the big WhatsApp family group started pinging. My family has a group with a cheesy name and a picture from a past barbecue. Usually it's birthday wishes and who's bringing salad. One afternoon, my phone went wild with notifications. My mom wrote first, "We all need to be careful what we say about Jack's accident. Some people are confused." Then Jack jumped in. "There's nothing to be careful about because nothing wrong was done, anyone spreading lies needs to stop. A younger cousin sent a confused emoji. Someone else asked, "What's going on?" That's when Ruth spoke. "What's going on?" she typed. Is that I was told there wasn't enough coverage for my treatment because the family insurance pool was empty. But now I've seen emails that show a large payment that went somewhere else. That does not match what I was told. The chat fell silent. My mother finally answered. "Ruth, this group is not the place for this. We should talk privately. We handle our issues inside the family." Ruth replied one more time. "Our lawyer has reviewed everything. We are reporting fraud to the insurance company. They will contact the people involved. I wanted everyone here to hear that from me." After that, the 3 little typing dots came and went, but no one said anything else out loud. A bit later, my cousin Jonas, one of Ruth's sons, texted me separately. "We didn't use your name. We only said family member, but if they guess, now they guess. We're done covering." It was the first time I truly felt I wasn't the only one willing to take the hit. The investigation that followed was slow and not very dramatic from the outside. The insurance company called hospitals and clinics to check original bills. They asked for appointment records, scanned signatures, even CCTV from the parking lot. They looked at Jack's work records. When did he really take sick leave? When was he seen driving around? They checked bank transfers. Meanwhile, my mom and Jack kept posting their own little stories. He put up another vague TikTok about jealous people who can't stand your blessings. But his posts became less and less. One night, my dad called me. That alone was strange. "Hey, Dad," I said. He sighed. I could hear some sports show on the TV behind him. "You busy?" he asked. "Not really," I said. "What's up?" He was quiet for a long time. "Your mom is not good," he said at last. "She's scared. Jack is scared. The insurance team is digging. Lawyers keep phoning. It's a mess." I stayed silent and let him talk. "I honestly didn't know the details," he said. "I knew Jack got some money. I don't know what I thought. That it was all real. I never looked close. Your mom handled it. I didn't ask questions." That hurt in its own way. He hadn't known, but he also hadn't wanted to know. "You doing okay?" he asked after a bit. That question almost broke me more than all the angry messages. "I'm better," I said. "Since I stopped pretending everything was fine, I'm angry, but I'm not confused anymore. That helps." He let out a long breath. "I'm sorry," he said, "for the cake, for standing there while they laughed, for every time I stayed quiet because it was easier. I should have spoken." I swallowed. "You still can," I said gently, "if you want to." "I don't know what I can fix," he admitted. "But I don't want you thinking I'm against you. I'm not. I just froze." "You don't have to fix it," I told him. "You just have to stop acting like nothing happened." A few days later, my mom showed up at my door. She didn't text first. She just knocked hard enough to make me jump. I checked the peephole. There she was. Hair less perfect, mascara smudged. For a second, I thought about not opening it. Then I unlocked the door and opened it just a crack. "We need to talk," she said, her voice shaking. "About what?" I asked. "About the fact that your aunt is trying to throw your uncle in jail," she snapped. The scared act dropped fast. "About the fact that you gave her private emails like you're some hero." "I didn't send them to the whole internet," I said. "I sent them to the person you lied to." "We didn't lie," she said quickly, then stopped and changed words. "We simplified. It was a complex situation. The system is unfair. Your uncle was hurt. We just—" "You changed numbers on hospital bills," I cut in. "You told one story to the insurance and a different one to your own sister. You used a family pool excuse while helping Jack buy a camper. That's not simplifying. That's fraud." She flinched at the word again. "Don't say that!" she hissed. "You don't know what it's like having everyone depend on you. A brother who can't manage, kids with bills, a house, a car. I did what I had to do." "No," I said. "You did what you chose. And every time I make a choice you don't like, you call me careless. You don't get to hide behind family now." Her eyes filled. "They're talking about charges," she said. "Real ones. Jack could lose everything. I could lose everything. You want that on your head? I felt calm wash over me. You already put that risk on your head the day you sent those emails, I said. This is not happening because I told the truth. It's happening because you lied. For a second, she looked like she might push past me, but I stepped fully into the doorway. It was the first time in my life I had physically blocked her from entering my space. You're really shutting me out? She whispered. After all I've done for you. You've done a lot, I agreed. Some of it good. Some of it this. I'm not saying you're only bad. I'm saying I'm not going to help you pretend nothing's wrong. You're choosing them over me, she said. I'm choosing me, I replied. For once. She stood there, waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. Finally, she turned and walked down the hall. I closed the door, locked it, and slid down against it, shaking. It didn't feel like winning. It felt scary. But under the fear, there was something else. Relief. In the weeks that followed, the investigation sped up. Ruth told me the insurance company had opened a formal case. They pulled old files, checked cameras, compared Jack's injury story with reality. While that happened, I worked on my own life. I updated my design portfolio, fixed my CV, and applied for salaried design jobs at agencies in the city. I joined a cheap yoga class at the local community center to pull myself out of my head. I even booked some therapy sessions at a low-cost clinic, something I'd been saying I couldn't afford for years. When relatives sent angry messages, I let them sit. When Megan or Ruth sent kind ones, I answered. I started to see clearly which relationships in my life were built on guilt and which were built on actual care. One day, sitting on a yoga mat in child's pose, I had a strange thought. The very people who had spent my life telling me choices have consequences were finally dealing with that exact truth. They had always told me life isn't fair, you have to take responsibility. Now those words were coming back to them from lawyers and investigators, and as strange as it sounds, that felt like justice. 6 months after the birthday dinner, I was sitting at a bright desk at a real design agency, fixing the spacing on a logo for a new client when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ruth. We got the final decision, it said. My heart jumped even though I wasn't the one in trouble. I typed, "Do you want to call?" She replied, "I'll send you the summary, you should see it." A few minutes later, an email appeared. I opened it. The insurance company's letter was long, formal, and very clear. They had found that Jack and my mom had lied on documents, changed numbers, and given wrong information to get a bigger payout. They used the word fraud more than once. Jack had already agreed to a deal to avoid a full trial. He had to pay back the whole $120,000 plus fines that pushed the total closer to $160,000. His work, one which had somehow turned a blind eye before, fired him as soon as they heard the result. The reason they wrote on his paper, professional misconduct, breaking company ethics. The camper van was taken back by the bank. Not long after, his wife filed for divorce. I didn't marry a cheat, she told people, according to the never-ending family gossip. My mom didn't escape either. She was named as someone who had knowingly helped. She had to pay a $10,000 penalty and got written up for her part in changing the documents. For someone who had always cared more about what people thought than about money, that mark on her name was the big blow. In their neighborhood, news spread faster than official mail. The woman who used to say things at book club like, "Honesty is the most important thing I taught my children," suddenly found herself alone on the sidewalk. People she'd known for years looked at their phones instead of greeting her in the store. Her volunteer group kindly suggested she take a break from being on the board. She had to sell her fancy SUV to pay some legal and insurance costs, buying a small plain car instead. It didn't match the rich mom image she had been posting for years. Chloe's Instagram changed too. Gone were the family brunch videos and boss mom posts. In their place were vague quotes about starting over and keeping your circle small. It was like they were trying to erase the old online version of our life. Meanwhile, my own life finally started to look like something I wasn't ashamed of. I got the agency job I thought I'd never get. Full-time. With health benefits. Coworkers who said things like, "You're talented," instead of, "When are you going to get serious?" I moved into a slightly bigger place. It wasn't huge, but the windows looked out on trees instead of a concrete parking lot. Megan helped me build cheap flat-pack furniture while we sat on the floor, eating noodles and laughing about how my mom would hate the mismatched colors. Ruth started texting things that had nothing to do with the case. Pictures of her dog, a photo of a plant, a message about going to appointments without needing to check with anyone. One afternoon, a box arrived at my door with no name, only Ruth's address. Inside was a small chocolate cake from a local bakery, whole, untouched. On top, in neat white icing, were 3 words: "You deserve better." I stood at my counter, staring at it. With my eyes burning, it was such a small thing, but it felt like she had reached back in time and given me a different ending to that birthday. I took a picture of it, not for social media, just for me. Then I cut myself the first slice. My dad came by a few days later with a plant. "The lady said even you can't kill this one," he joked weakly. He looked older, smaller. We sat on my couch, the TV low. "I read the report," he said. "I'm not going to pretend it wasn't ugly, but I'm glad you told the truth." For the first time in a long time, I believed him. He wasn't trying to tell me to get over it. He wasn't asking me to go back for the family. He was just sitting in the same messy reality and calling it what it was. As for my mom, she sent a few long texts over the next month. One messages about how she did everything out of love, how she couldn't believe her own daughter betrayed her, how she was the real victim because everyone was judging her for one mistake. I didn't answer. At first, I expected guilt to eat me alive. I thought I'd lie awake at night, listening to my phone buzz, feeling like a terrible daughter. But that didn't happen. I slept better than I had in years. Here's something people don't tell you about finally standing up to your family. The fallout is painful, but the freedom is real. I didn't expose what they did because I enjoyed seeing them suffer. I did it because I realized that every time I stayed silent, I was agreeing that my self-respect was worth less than their comfort. I used to think keeping the peace meant letting myself be the joke, letting them hand me a trash cake and call it love. Now I know peace without truth isn't peace. It's control, lit with fairy lights. I'm not stupid. I know some people in my family will always tell this story their way. In their version, I'm sure I'm the ungrateful one who destroyed everything. Maybe in their story, I am the villain. But in mine, I'm just the girl who finally took her own pen back and stopped letting other people write her as the failure. So that's what happened after the half-eaten cake and the 7 words I whispered in my uncle's ear. They lost some money, their image, and their easy safety. I lost a version of my family that probably never really existed. And I gained a life where I can look at my reflection and not feel like half a person. If you were sitting at that table with a trash cake in front of you and a secret in your hands, would you still protect them? Or would you, like me, finally let the truth burn its way out?